السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. ما بعد. Inshallah, today we'll be starting from the second half of the third juz and completing Surah Al-Imran, which will bring us to the fourth quarter, or the last quarter of the fourth juz. SubhanAllah, it'll feel like just a few days from now where I'll be saying that, we're now on the 28th juz or we're on the 29th juz and we only have half juz left or one juz left. The point being is that this time will fly. It will literally fly. It's already flying. We're already, tomorrow we're going to be on the 5th juz. We do not have any time to waste and keep thinking and planning of what I'm going to do and have a lot of aspirations and intentions but no action. We need to act now. We need to realize that the time is now. The ayah, one of the ayahs that I was going to speak about yesterday, I didn't get a chance. Right after Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the month of Ramadan, the month of the Quran, the ayah right after that He says, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي عَنِّي فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. That, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that when my servants, when they ask, right, about me, say that, فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ. I am close, I am near. And this is in general, this is not just for the month of Ramadan, but especially in this month of Ramadan, we have to realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us that opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close. And we have to have the true conviction and the true faith and the true realization, the yaqeen that He is. We can't ask half-heartedly. We can't ask thinking that, it's probably not going to get accepted. And He doesn't say that, O Muhammad, tell those who are my friends or those who have the highest taqwa, that tell them that I am close. He says, if my servant asks, tell him I am close. Do we not consider ourselves servants and slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Are we not included in this ayah? We are. Each one of us is included in this ayah. Each one of us is from the ibad, from the servants, from the slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that means Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close to each and every one of us. It doesn't matter what state we're in. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying that I'm close to you. It doesn't matter if I feel like, I'm not a good Muslim. It doesn't matter if I feel like, my connection was, weak the whole year. So now, there's no point of trying. It doesn't matter if I'm, involved in different types of sins. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is still close. I need to make use of that connection and that closeness, that proximity, and understand and realize that this is an opportunity that I cannot pass. We went through the ayah in the third juz, right in the beginning, I think it's like the third page, where Ibrahim alayhi salam, he says that, Rabbi arini kayfa tuhyi al-mawta. That show me how do you bring life to the dead. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says قال أَوَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ. You do not believe? Do you not have faith? Right? He says, Bala. No, of course I have. But تَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي. Just so I can have that extra, boost. My heart can feel that extra peace and, tranquility when I think of this. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told him to take the 4 birds and put it on the different mountain tops, mix up chop them up, mix up the pieces and everything, and then call them. And they all were put back together. The point is not the story. The point is, sometimes we need a reminder. We understand, we have faith, we all believe. We know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. We know He's listening. But right now, what is going on? What are we talking about? The reminder. Understanding and reminding ourselves that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is waiting for us to ask. All we have to do is ask. This is the time for that. This is the time to ask. And what other time, one of the best times to ask is in the middle of the night. On regular days, we don't get up, we don't have any motivation to get up, before Fajr. But, when we know we're going to be hungry the whole day, then we are motivated to wake up for suhoor. So it's a perfect opportunity to wake up a little bit earlier and pray some tahajjud, some qiyamul layl. Like really, there is no excuse for us to miss qiyamul layl, tahajjud in this month of Ramadan. We're waking up for food. You don't have to read the whole Quran like the Sahaba did in the qiyamul layl. You don't have to do that. You don't have to stay up for hours and hours. Wake up like 4 minutes earlier and pray 2 rak'ah. Even that, if we look through the history, and we look through the biographies of all of the pious people before. I'm not even talking about the Sahaba. Even after them, the Tabi'een, Taba Tabi'een, even the pious scholars of the previous centuries. I don't think you will find a single scholar, a single pious person recorded in history who did not have this habit of praying tahajjud, praying qiyamul layl in the middle of the night. Now I'm not talking about the month of Ramadan. I'm talking about this was their habit. We look at the biographies of Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Shafi'i, and all the other Tabi'een, Taba Tabi'een. Many of them said that they didn't, they prayed Fajr and Isha with the same wudu for 40 years, for 20 years, for 60 years. These are not stories. You can read them. You can read this in the books, showing that this was a habit that every one of them had. One of the key core ibadah that we are missing in our life today is this: our connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the midst of the night when everyone else is sleeping, we're also sleeping. This is the opportunity in this month to build that habit. I mentioned it a few weeks or 1 or 2 months before Ramadan as well in one of the Jum'ahs. And I had a whole topic about this, and I'm sure many of us remember. But this is a reminder that this month we have to make sure that we're building that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We'll cover one more ayah quickly. It's also along the same theme of having that strong faith or having that reminder and using that reminder as a boost, right? We know about Maryam radiallahu anha or alayhi salatu wassalam, that her father passed away and the parents had made that promise that وَضَعْتُهَا أُنْثَى وَاللَّهُ أَعْلَمُ مَا وَضَعَتْ, all of that whoever is going to be born, then that child is going to be for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They didn't expect it to be a daughter. Anyways, when the father passed away, Zakaria alayhi salam, the uncle, he took care. He took her under his wing, and he started taking care of her. And he would, he had set up a room for her by the masjid, and she would stay there. And he would lock it when he leaves, and when he would come back, he would open it, and then he would see that sometimes she would have these fruits and these different things to eat that were out of season. It's like, where did you get this from? Right? Where did this come from? Forget about who brought it for you. It's not even the right season. Where did you get it from? So she would say, he would say, "Anna laki hada?" She would say, "Qalat huwa min indillah." It's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When someone asks us a question, where did you get it from? And you say, it's from Allah. He's like, seriously, come on, like where is it from? We don't take it seriously that it's from Allah, right? That should be enough of an answer. Some people ask something like, "Oh, where did you get this from?" You say it's from Allah. It's like, okay, duh. That's the response that we have. But over here, this was a reminder for him when she said, "Huwa min indillah, inna Allah yarzuqu man yasha'u bighayri hisab." This was a reminder for him, even though he's a prophet himself. He already has the highest level of faith, but it was a reminder. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions how he wanted to have a child. But for the longest time, he never made dua. He never made dua because, he just thought that because he's old and his wife is barren, what's the point, right? Even though he had the faith. But after the reminder came, then he made dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says he made dua. And when he made dua, the dua that he made, رَبِّ هَبْ لِي مِن لَدُنْكَ ذُرِّيَّةٍ طَيِّبَةٍ. This is also a reminder for all of us. I was speaking to one scholar and he was mentioning these du'as that should be recited when a person wants a child. Many people, when they want to have a child, things are not working out, they go to this doctor, they go to that doctor, and this person and that specialist, and the specialist decides, not decides, He decrees that that's it, you can't, there's no chance. Who are you to decide? Who is the doctor? Is the doctor the creator? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator. You make dua. You make dua, and these are the du'as from the Quran. You think they're not going to work? If you think they're not going to work, go back to the first ayah we just spoke about. Inni qareeb. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is close. He's listening. You make the du'as with conviction, and they will be accepted. Zakaria alayhi salam, he made the dua when he was on the mimbar or on the mihrab. The malaika came and they said, glad tidings, glad tidings. قال رب فنادته الملائكة وهو قائم يصلي في المحراب أن الله يبشرك بيحيى. Glad tidings for Yahya. You're the son who's going to be, you're going to have a son, his name is Yahya. So what did he say? قال ربي أن يكون لي غلام وقد بلغني الكبر وامرأتي عاقر. I'm going to have a son, even though I'm of old age, my wife is barren. What is the response? قال كذلك الله يفعل ما يشاء. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does. There's no factors, there's no science and this and that. No, none of that. Allah does what He wills. Allah does what He wishes. All we have to do is ask and He will give. This is the month of Ramadan. This is the month to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ask for everything and anything. Nothing is too small. Make dua for everything and anything. And when you ask for the biggest, ask for the greatest. This was the Prophet ﷺ sunnah. He said when you ask for Jannah, don't just ask for Jannah. Ask for Firdaus. Ask for Firdaus. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all of the permissible things that we want. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfill all of our du'as. And all of the du'as that haven't come to our mind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfill those as well. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all forgiveness. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us Jannatul Firdaus. Ameen wa akhir da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله